put it together because the rope never breaks. It's just the sewing breaks. So we use Kevlar thread and sew that. You can see the big overlap that we have there. So anyway, so a set of turnout gear, generally anywhere from 4 to 6 pounds, is what it is coming out of the factory. Now, sometimes you go to the fire station and you pick up a set of gear and it weighs 20 pounds. I mean, it's really heavy. And that can be from soil, it's soiled. And then secondly, firefighters have this incredible knack of sticking stuff in their pockets everywhere. They got tools and, all kinds of stuff in their pockets. So that adds to the weight. But generally a brand new set of gear probably averages about 5 pounds.
How often does a firefighter typically have to replace gear? I mean, I'm sure that varies too, but...
It's a really good question. We warrant the gear for the life of the gear. So what does that mean? Well, generally, that's warranted from defects in material or workmanship in how we manufacture it, so if they identify a defect. Fortunately, we very rarely get a warranty claim. But the gear, interestingly, again, firefighters know this as well, clearly, is that you can destroy a set of gear on the first day you wear it. So if it gets exposed to high heat environment, as this flashover like we talked about, more commonly what we see is a firefighter, particularly in a commercial fire, they'll go in to fight the fire and the roof is made of composite and tar and things like that, and it's dripping, down onto the firefighters as they're working. Give you more kind of a crazy visual of your job if you're in that situation. But as it pours onto their garments, that hot tar, it's almost impossible to get it removed. And of course that hot tar is flammable. So as soon as it gets contaminated to that level, the gear is pretty much destroyed at that point. Likewise, if they get extremely high heat, you can see the garment becomes unusable if it changes the chemical structure of the garment. And that can happen not necessarily in the whole garment, but you'll see situations where firefighters get a sleeve. They get into a really high heat environment and a sleeve burns. So we do repair gear periodically, but generally, so how long does turnout gear last? Well, you come up with an average, but like I say, and it depends on its amount of use. Some, if your primary responsibility is you're the driver of the rig, of the pumper or the aerial or whatever, then your gear could last really long, except maybe the seat of the pants or something. But if you're an interior attack firefighter and you're working in a, Philadelphia or Chicago, a lot of times their gear gets replaced every year. I mean, they're in constant exposure. The NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, has a standard. We build our gear to the NFPA standard. It's called 1970 now, the standard. I actually sit on the correlating committee of the NFPA, which basically oversees all of the protective ensemble standards to make sure that they all correlate with each other. So it's a big process. And on that standards committee are members of the firefighters union, actual firefighters, research universities, material manufacturers, enforcers. They call them enforcers, which would be like fire marshals and things like that. So all of those people get together to develop the standard for in this case structural firefighting gear we're talking about. And they came up with the care and use standard on NFPA, which is 1850, which says that no gear is compliant after it's 10 years old. And the reason they came up with that, people get confused and think, well, that means your gear will last 10 years. That's not how they arrived at that. They arrived at that to say the standard gets renewed or gets revised every 5 years. So in that situation, you'd be through 2 NFPA revision cycles. The revisions usually incorporate all the latest technology and understanding as it relates to firefighter safety and what they do at their job. At that point in 10 years, you'd have been through 2 different revision cycles. So the belief was that your gear would be technologically out of date. So even if you had it in a hermetically sealed vault for the last 10 years, if it's 10 years old from the NFPA's perspective, that gear is no longer compliant. So that's what, but I'd say on average about 5 years, what we see. Now gloves, we manufactured those gloves down in Arkansas primarily. Firefighter gloves, if you get a year out of a pair of gloves, you are wearing some stinky, nasty gloves. So, we'll see.
I know I was a firefighter here at Spencer for 38 years. I've been off about 2, but it was always good working with you guys because a lot of times, I hate to use the word guinea pig, but if you had something new you guys wanted to try, we were right here, and we had great working relationships. So.
Yeah, great. And we really appreciate working with the Spencer Fire Department as well for a lot of the reasons just described. But it's also a tremendous advantage, because it's really difficult to get, particularly, combination departments and volunteer departments, they see a fair amount of turnover, in their crew. In those situations, you don't want to have to buy brand new gear, so you want to bring it in and get it, altered. That's really easier to do when the factory's half a mile away.
Yeah.
So it was a tremendous advantage to that.
I know. I think I got measured for 4 sets of gear over my time. Yeah. So
those measurements never change.
That's what I was
well, there's a little bit of shrinkage that happens when you wash them.
I'm with you. I'll cover you. Yeah, it's shrinkage. Shrinkage happens. All right. Any other questions? Good stuff. All right. Well, listen, I really appreciate you guys coming and your interest in Veridian. It's really great having Veridian up here in Northwest Iowa. It's been a great partnership for us working this community. If I had one thing I could say, it's just make more babies. We need, like I say, we could dramatically use more people. I honestly, I really think we could probably double our workforce here with the amount of demand that's out there. So that's a great problem to have versus some of the other problems, but nonetheless it's a problem. So it would have been my preference to not open a facility in Des Moines necessarily. It works so good here, but again, we just need the people. So we're extremely pleased with the people that we have here. They do a fantastic job for us. Really pleased with the community and all that kind of stuff, but onward and upward. Where we are.
Thank you, Bill. Very, very much.
You bet.
We all appreciate it more than you know.
Good. Thanks. All right.
Very informative.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again.
Thank you.
If we could all meet outside quick and get a group picture, that would be awesome.
All right.